Well, we'd like to welcome you all to the 2016 AQHA convention here in Las Vegas. We thought we'd do something a little different this year. I'm Craig Huffines, your Executive Vice President of AQHA, and last year, as I attended our convention in Fort Worth, I wasn't gainfully employed but was on my way there and had an opportunity to visit with many of you in the audience. And many of your comments were, how can we create an environment at AQHA convention where we might discuss issues in an entertaining forum or create educational opportunities for folks who might be able to take something home other than, the typical committee and policy debates. And so we decided to do something a little different this year. This morning, Patty Carter put on a tremendous workshop for the Pro Horseman Association. You betcha. Congratulations. Terrific job. Steve Meadows led a great team and mentioned that they have basically completed much of the strategic planning process and objectives that were set out to complete, 3 years ago. And so Pro Horseman's doing a wonderful job. And so we're hoping that this year we're going to plant seeds for a convention that's going to grow, that's going to entice not just board members, but members to come here to engage in the organization and perhaps provide some continuing education that will benefit the industry. And so this afternoon, we are going to have a very interesting forum, and I'll introduce our host for this afternoon's Town Hall Forum in just a moment. Of two different panels. You've walked through the gates here and you've been handed a clicker, which is an audience a device that will allow you to answer polling questions throughout the afternoon. And so our goal here is to create some thought-provoking ideas about what we as an organization can do to enhance the image and the value proposition to our quarter horse lifestyle. And so we've got a tremendous group of folks that are going to weigh in. You've also been handed some cards, and as the afternoon goes on, if you have a burning desire to ask a question, we'll have a Q&A spot, and we'd like for you to fill that card out. And I think a couple of us, Pete, Kyle, and myself, will have some roaming mics, and we'll pick those cards up and we'll ask those questions to the panelists. Without further ado, I want to introduce to you your president, my good friend, Dr. Glenn Blodgett, for a few words.
Thank you, Craig, and good afternoon, everyone. And as AQHA president, I'd like to welcome each of you here to the first ever AQHA Industry Town Hall Forum meeting. This afternoon will be filled with informative and beneficial panel presentations and discussion on some of the most important topics in the American quarter horse industry today. While we all come to convention with different industry roles and responsibilities, Craig and the executive committee feel it's very important that we gather in a venue that we can share our thoughts and opinions about industry issues. This town hall meeting is not about rule changes, rather it's an opportunity for you to come and hear panelists with diverse backgrounds and provide feedback to support the future of our industry on two very important topics. We hope you'll find this afternoon engaging, informative, as well as entertaining. We thank each and every one of you for attending and appreciate your input. The future of our industry requires all of us to work together to ensure we're providing the right opportunities to encourage people to get involved and stay involved in the American quarter horse. During this afternoon's town hall meeting, you'll hear from two sets of panelists speaking on two different issues from facing the industry today. the state of the horse industry, and the power of perception. At certain points during the panel presentations, you'll be asked to provide your thoughts and input by using the clicker Craig referred to a while ago you received when you entered the room to answer questions pertinent to the town hall topics that you hear this afternoon. We hope all of you participate, and we look forward to seeing the results, and I want to thank you again for coming.
Okay, I'm going to click this. I have my own clicker. I'm going to use the old-fashioned button. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to a special friend of our business, a good friend of mine. I've known him since college days. He used to whip me in livestock judging back in our old college days, Colorado State graduate. He grew up on a cow-calf operation in Kersey, Colorado, graduated from Colorado State University with a degree in ag business and a master's in management from Purdue University. Kevin Oshner has spent the past 24 years as an agribusiness consultant. He has consulted with companies such as Monsanto, Zoetis, Bayer Crop Science, John Deere, U.S. Meat Export Federation, and NCBA. I've had the opportunity to work with him on several occasions on strategic planning type projects with the American Hereford Association. He also serves as the host of Cattleman to Cattleman TV show on RFD Network. He and his wife Julie and their 3 children make their home, of course, in Kersey, Colorado, where they raise registered Limousine and Limflex cattle and operate a small family branded beef business. A couple of year before last, your daughter actually was voted to sing the national anthem at the National Finals Rodeo. So we've got some talent in the family as well. So help me in welcoming our host this afternoon, Mr. Kevin Oshner.
Well, thank you very much, Craig, and thank you for the kind welcome. The only thing that he didn't say on my resume that Dr. Hurd probably would have said as professor at Colorado State when I was there is my biggest claim to fame was the fact that I graduated from CSU in just 2 terms, President Reagan's and President Bush's. And that's the truth, isn't it, Dr. Hurd? It took me a little while to get through college given some FFA responsibilities. But it's a treat to be here. You know, a lot of speakers come to meetings like this and say it's a pleasure to be here, I'm glad to be here. And I say that a lot, and frankly, I will be honest in telling you that sometimes it's not very genuine when I say it. It's a cliche that many of us speakers use. Although this time, I have to be honest, I'm pleased to be here, not just because it's a quarter horse meeting. I'm just pleased to be here given my little airplane experience last night out of Denver. And in order to fully understand what I'm talking about, you have to go back to Monday evening of this week when our friendly Northwest Mutual agent came out to visit Julie and I for our annual little insurance review. And long story short, he talked Julie and I into buying another $50,000 life insurance policy because given the ages of my kids, he convinced me that we needed a little more life insurance, at least until I get a couple of kids through college. So I went ahead and did that, didn't think much of it, and got to Denver last night, got there early enough to go through Panda Express down there and get my typical little combination 3-plate at Panda Express and that little fortune cookie they gave you. And I threw my fortune cookie in my coat and got on the airplane, stuck my coat in the overhead bin, and this fortune cookie fell out, and I said, oh, I forgot the fortune cookie, you know, so I sat down on the seat, and I popped over that fortune cookie and read its fortune. It said, an investment you've recently made is about to pay off. I want to tell you, I just about didn't come to Las Vegas last night, Craig. I was not clear, so I will be much happier when I get home to Colorado. Here's what I will tell you. An investment you've made in coming this afternoon will absolutely pay off. We have an exciting afternoon of hard-hitting discussions that I think are pertinent to anybody that has a passion and an interest and certainly an investment in the horse industry and specifically with quarter horses. And so I thank you for investing your time, for coming a little earlier to get involved in this session, and we're going to do our very best to make sure that investment pays off in spades. Well, just a little bit, Craig mentioned a little bit about me in terms of my role and my responsibility. I consider myself first and foremost a husband to a beautiful Nebraska girl. We've got 3 great kids that keep us actively engaged. We've got a herd of limousine limflex cows and serve as satellite producers for one of the top 20 seed stock operations in the country, Wolf Cattle out of Morrison, Minnesota. And also for the last 5 years, I've been host of the Cattleman TV show. That's what a lot of people know about me. What you may not know is that I'm also a longtime fan of American quarter horses. That picture over on your left, I guess, is a picture of my dad and his horse Little Red that he used to compete on, and me and my cousin sitting on his back. I had a horse that I was spent a lot of time with, a Posey, a registered quarter horse, barrel racing, flag racing, goat tying, and actually doing some Western pleasure when I was a little younger. And today we use horses in our livestock operation. I will tell you, I'm not dissimilar to probably a lot of people, and one of the topics we're going to talk about today, which is the economy, in that we were getting after the Little Britches Rodeo pretty hard until I was about 14 years old. I even hazed for my uncle in high school rodeo about that same time. He was a little older than I. The 1980s hit, the farm crisis came, and I want to tell you, the rodeo career ended. There was no more money to go to rodeos, and horses became something we used on the place, not something we competed with. But that's a little bit about my background. Now, it was interesting as I talked to Dr. Hurd and told him that I was coming to this event. He says, "What do they got a cow guy like you coming to this event?" I said, "Well, here's the deal. As I look at the panel, I think we have plenty of horse expertise. I'm here not to be a horse expert. I'm here to be the consultant and to be the person who helps you hopefully learn, think, and make better decisions moving forward." So here's the 3 things that I'd like to do today. Number 1, I want to promote shared thinking. The fact of the matter is, John Maynard Keynes, the economist, once said, none of us is as smart as all of us. And the fact of the matter is, I want us to share some thinking and to share some best practices and to learn from another. Secondly, I want to question popular thinking, and that's one thing that an outsider like me can do. I'm not a horse trainer, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. And so the fact of the matter is, I fundamentally believe this quote to be true: the difficulty lies not so much in developing new ideas as sometimes just escaping the old ones. We have old paradigms, and I think we've got a couple panelists today that are going to challenge some of those paradigms. And the third thing I want to suggest is that I'm here to promote and to emphasize strategic thinking. You're going to hear more about my thoughts around strategic thinking tomorrow, but I spent 24 years. I have lots of personal expertise in companies that have succeeded and failed. And I will tell you that while not all companies who have succeeded have written strategic plans, all companies who have succeeded have plans. They may not be written down, but all companies have strategies about how they're going to succeed. And the fact of the matter is, the great general himself said, successful generals make plans to fit circumstances, but don't try to create circumstances to fit plans. We live in a different time than many of you started in the horse business. There are different circumstances. And we've got to find a way to fit our plans to the circumstances, not try to shape external circumstances that we frankly don't have a lot of control over. So that was my role. Here's your role. A lot of people come to these meetings and they come to be one of these, a sponge. We're going to sit down and we're just going to soak it up. We don't want that. We want you to be an interactive, and Dr. Blodgett said, engaged participant. So what you're going to find in front of you today is you're going to find, hopefully, one of these clickers. And I want to make mention, please do not take these clickers with you, okay? These are the American Quarter Horse Association's tools. You're going to be using those quite a lot moving forward. We want to make sure you return those to the table before you go back to your room. And the other thing, the middle bottom button, I don't want you to push that button either, because that is tied directly to a shock collar on Craig Huffines, and we don't want to invoke any harm on Craig. But to get started here, let's just see. We're going to start with some easy questions. First of all, we're going to make sure our technology is working this afternoon. We want to ask you the question, where are you from? Okay? Where are you from? Go ahead and vote. Yep. All right, we are not getting a polling open here. Question, so we may have some issues there. I think that's the same. All right, that's why we did this first and foremost here. All right? All right? Okay, good enough. Well, we might just do the good old fashioned raise of hands. Exactly right.
Oh no, we got it.
We've got it under control. This honestly, how many of you have ever used this tool in the past? By the way, it's a fun tool, and you went out and purchased for the Quarter Horse Association a number of these. You're going to be using them in your meetings. Is that correct? And the fact of the matter is, we found them in many meetings that we've done to be a really good way to do two things. Number one, engage the audience, and number two, Quarter Horse Association is going to have captured this information at the conclusion of this program, and I think it provides great guidance for the board of directors as you move forward, saying, at least in this audience, here's what people believe and think relative to that. All right, it looks like we're open now, so now let's try it. Where are you from? Northeast United States, Southeast, Midwest. God's country is not one of the options, is it, doggone it? No. Fantastic. Look at that. 215 responses. I'm going to give you a couple of more seconds. Any more? This is not Chicago. You can't vote early and vote often. Just vote once. And when you vote, you'll notice that their green light should be on and your vote should be written up there. It looks like we've slowed down. And survey says that a number of you, Midwestern, 30% of you from Midwest, 20% from Southwest, 15% from Southeast. Fantastic. What's your gender? We want to get capitalize the mix of males and females that we have in this room. Okay. Sounds like there's some questions back there. I'm not going to touch that with a 50-foot pole. 52% female and 48% male. So a pretty good 50-50 split. What role best describes you? Are you a breeder, a trainer, an owner, an allied industry member, media professional, or something else? That would include consultants, wouldn't it, Dr. Hurd? We'd be this something else. Yeah, that's right. $207, 8, 18. All right, looks like that's about all. 39% owners, and I'm certain that more than one of these describe many of you. 23% trainers, 14% breeders, 12% others, and then we've got some allied industry and media members in the room. To what age group do you belong? Well, we cannot track these to individual responders, so just be honest here, all right? Just be honest. We will not be tracking these directly to your response cards. Celebrated my 21st birthday 4 times, or 20 times. Survey says, all right. We're going to talk about this today, and I think Patty's going to mention this very issue. As I go around the country, spend a lot of time in agriculture, I want to tell you this whole issue around the aging out of our industry, not just horse industry, but broadly speaking, is a huge issue in our industry, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about that. This is an interesting one. We want to ask you a question. We're going to talk about the state of the horse industry. We want to ask, first of all, how did you become involved in the horse industry? Were your parents and family, did they have horses? Is that what engaged you? You grew up with friends that had some horses. You attended a horse event and fell in love with horses. You were attracted to horses through some sort of movie or toy or book. A coworker or colleague maybe introduced you to horses. How would you say, if you had to choose just one, what would you say caused you to become involved with horses? Some of you said, I'm married into it. That could be a good or bad thing, right? 206. It looks like good. I appreciate all of you. It looks like we have consistently 221. We've got a few more people. About 220 some folks voting, all right? And survey says 58% said, hey, this is about a family experience. 22% say you were attracted to horses through movies, books, etc. 10% grew up with friends that had horses. I think this is an important one too, because the fact of the matter is, guys, you know as well as I do that there are not more people growing up in rural environments. There are typically less, right? And if we are only counting on people growing up with horses, that moms and dads have horses, for people to get engaged in horses, this becomes kind of a slippery slope and a trend that may not. We've got to find a way to engage other people. And we're going to talk about that very issue today. What change has had the biggest impact on quarter horse industry over the last 10 years? If you were to say, it could be a positive or negative change. Is it the economy? Is it the number of horses and registrations, the decreasing number of horses and registrations? Is it just a general changing of demographics in America, how interests and hobbies and attitudes have changed? Is it the urbanization issue? Is it the increased intensity of youth sports? Is it new or different horse events and activities? Again, these could be positive or negative changes, but if you were to say, Kevin, if I had to pick one thing that has had the biggest impact on the quarter horse industry over the last 10-year period, I'd select this one. This is a tough question, I recognize, and there's probably 8 or 10 other additional answers we could have included. What do you say? A few more, 195 voting. Let's get up to 200 and some. Okay, a couple of more. I'm going to close it, and the survey says, the economy, first and foremost, followed by the changing demographics and interest of the U.S. population. And I think you're going to be, again, intrigued by some of the things our presenters have to share today about millennials, about alternatives that young kids have to spend their free time, and that's quite good. Well, here's what I would say, guys. The game is changing. Would you agree? And I want to share with you a quick little video that I think is really appropriate for being right here in Las Vegas. Go ahead.
I'll see you now. What should I get you?
Is this seat taken?
It is now. My name is Annabelle Bransford. What do they call you?
I'm Brett Maverick, ma'am, and I'm pleased to meet you.
I like the game the way it is.
Well, now, I bring all sorts of pluses to the table. I hardly ever bluff, and I never, ever cheat.
I don't believe it.
Neither do I.
I like the game just the way it is.
What good is an empty chair?
Indeed. Now, I'll bet I can change your mind. I promise that I will lose for at least an hour.
I like that. Sounds good to me.
My kind of player.
We're playing 5-card draw.
Please sit down. As I said, my name is Mrs.
I use that video clip for two purposes. There's two quotes that were made in that video clip. Number one, you know which one it was. I like the game just the way it is. How many people in our industry would say that? I like the game just the way it is. Don't change it. Like the game just the way it is. And the second quote I wanted to highlight to a group of horse people was, what good's an empty seat? We got to broaden our thinking. Other people who might want to get involved in the horse industry may not want to play the same game we are playing. They may not, frankly, be interested in the same rewards that we're interested in. But what good's an empty seat? And isn't it up to us to figure out a way to make sure seats are filled and that people are engaged in the horse industry? So those are the things that I want to challenge you with. To salt your thinking before we get into some of these panelists, I want to tee up a couple of slides that I use in a lot of my consulting work. And the first one is around change. You recognize this man. He's perhaps one of the most successful businessmen in all of American history, Bill Gates. And here's what he said once. He said, IBM was more dominant than any company will ever be in technology, yet they missed a few key turns in the road. And that makes you wake up every day saying, let's hope today's not the day we miss a key turn in the road. He goes on in this article to talk about how the internet came along, and he says, we had it on our list. We had it as like the 5th or 6th top priority. And it wasn't like somebody said the word internet and we said, how do you spell it? We had it on our list, so we thought we were okay. But he said there came a point in time when we recognized it was a much deeper phenomenon and we had not properly addressed it in our strategy. So he said, I had to create a sense of urgency. We went on some retreats. We talked about the options, and finally we landed on a strategy to go forward. We said, here's what we're going to do. Here's what the world might think about what we're going to do. And here's how we're going to measure ourselves internally. And he goes on to say that all companies are going to have that kind of a conundrum every 5 or 6 years in many companies' lifespan. That you're going to come across issues that are coming at you from external sources that are going to impact your business. And you can either choose to say, hey, we got that on our list, so we're okay, or you can recognize those issues with a sense of urgency and choose to act upon those issues. And he says, we chose to act upon that issue, and you and I both know that had they not acted, when they did, they were late to the party anyway, there would not be a Microsoft company anymore. So as we move forward, let me tee up and highlight just a couple of folks that I think we can learn from. I'm a big reader, and I'm a big learner. I don't think you have to be incredibly innovative. I think you have to be a very astute student of the world around you. And I think if you're an astute student of the world around you, you can learn some things that with a little imagination and innovation you can apply to your own business or your own industry. Let me talk to you about a couple of leaders yesterday. How many of you remember this company? More importantly, and it's still a successful company. I'm not suggesting they're a bad company. But how many of you, and this by show of hands, I don't have a clicker question for this. How many of you had one of those cool Walkman? Yeah, those were cool. Remember that? I mean, I remember walking across the CSU campus, Dr. Hurd, with my Walkman and my earphones, and I was jamming. I mean, this was cool stuff, and it was my music. I had a cassette tape of my favorite songs from one musician, all there, privatized. I didn't have to listen to the radio. How cool is that, right? Another example, Kodak. How many of you captured Kodak moments? Ever own a Kodak camera? Have you heard what happened to Kodak? Bankrupt. Who's today's leader? I would argue that Apple has captured the market share from both of these guys. Would you agree? What did Apple figure out? How they understood that digitization is going to make a meaningful difference. And I won't go into grave detail because we don't have time, but I think there's a couple of things that are applicable to us in business today. Number one, Apple, when it came to music, 2001 digitized music. No big deal, right? Apple did a couple things. Number one, they made some strategic agreements with music companies, and music companies were willing to do that because they said, you know, these Mac computers only comprise 3 or 4% of the market. How much of a threat could that be? Only after that, he actually got iTunes on Word computer or Microsoft computers, correct? And the second thing he did, he figured out the convenient interface element. He figured out a way for people to manage music and purchase music. And I want to suggest to you that in this day and age, let's not underrepresent the importance of convenience in anything we do. How convenient is it to engage with a horse, to get horse lessons, to engage with some of you as horse trainers? The second example I'm going to give you is this. Anybody ever rent a movie from Blockbuster? Sure. Did you know that Blockbuster, and I'm going to get this right, 2005 had 22,725 stores, a 74% market share of an $8.4 billion video rental business. That's 2005. In 2010, their stores had decreased to 9,900 stores. They accounted for 29% of video rentals, and late in 2010, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy with $1.46 billion in debt and $1.2 billion in assets in a 5-year period. They had a business model that was archaic, didn't they? They were focused on brick and mortar stores, right? And getting people to come into those brick and mortar stores, charge them for their video, and then what else did they charge them for, Al? Late fees. Remember those? A big portion of their revenue came from penalizing customers. We have to wonder about business models when you have a business model where a grand portion of your revenue comes from your ability to penalize customers. It's a questionable one. What did Netflix come up with? Netflix said it wasn't about the stores. These people want access to entertainment. So not only did they invest, right, in creating a system of mail order DVDs, but they also created a software technology that allows you to, hey, if you like Lonesome Dove, here's 3 more movies that you're going to love, right? And secondly, what they did really well is they changed the fundamental business model. Said, why do we have to rent for a certain period of time and penalize customers if they don't bring it back? Let's just give them a monthly fee, subscription-based fee, let them keep the video as long as they want to, and turn it back when they get good and ready. It was a different business model altogether, wasn't it? Based on different technology. My question of you, what is the business model in the horse industry? Does a kid have to buy? Dr. Hurd and I have talked about this a number of times. He's asked me, he says, Kevin, have you ever calculated the cost for somebody to get started in the horse business? Dad goes out and buys a dually pickup and a horse trailer and a horse and a saddle. What do you think it's going to cost? Well, I know this. It's going to cost a whole lot more than a soccer ball. I own a dually pickup. I own a stock trailer, not a horse trailer. And my 12-year-old boy has started riding my horse and tells me that he wants a new horse. So I'm either going to have to buy another horse for him or another horse for me. I get the costs. What is the right business model to engage people in horses? The third thing I want to ask you is this. How many of you ever had a Maxwell House cup of coffee, right? Good to the last drop, isn't it? 1980s, the coffee industry was doing what? Plummeting, was it not? From a volume standpoint, coffee drinking was going down, and what came on the scene? Starbucks. And what did Starbucks teach us? They taught us the difference of product quality. They gave us a different product. They gave us a customized product, didn't they? Have you ever, just for fun, Craig and I travel a lot, as do many of you. I like going to an airport. If I have 30 minutes to kill, I'll get me a cup of coffee at Starbucks, and then I'll just sit close enough to the register where I can hear people ordering their coffee. It's an absolute entertainment to hear people, the coffee snobbery that goes around, right? And people's getting their exact correct mocha frappuccino, latte, half calf, decaf, whatever sort of thing. It's a creative mess of words to come up with your coffee. But Starbucks capitalized on a couple things: convenience, customization, and quality. Can we learn something about that? Well, I won't spend a lot of time because we've got a lot of horse experts going to talk about this, but let me just highlight a couple of things that we're going to be talking about. Number one, what are drivers that change the horse industry? The economy, no doubt. You've already identified that. Millennials, are they changing the rules of the game for everybody? Absolutely. Did the strategic plan for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, I want to tell you, there's a lot of it focused around how do we attract and communicate with millennials. Social media, has that rocked our world? You darn right it is, and we're going to talk about that today. I mentioned this before, sports. I've got lots of friends that spend weekends now with their kids in club sports, and maybe some of you are doing the same thing. And I want to tell you, I don't know how you would fit in club volleyball and be passionate about the horse industry and put your kid in a position to be very competitive at horse events as well. We live in an experience economy. It's not just about the products, it's about the experience. And what I do know is people will pay for an experience, won't they? So it's not just about owning a horse. What is the experience that we surround around the horse? And finally, you've heard Craig mention this and others, the urbanization of America. You just take a look at that chart and see that, going from 50% urban to about 79, 80% urban in the United States is a huge, huge driver of change for us. So here's the challenge that I have for you. One of my favorite quotes from a great book: to confront reality is to recognize the world as it is, not as you wish it to be, and have the courage to do what must be done, not what you like to do. That's pretty good, isn't it? Recognize the world as it is, not as you wish it to be, and have the courage to do what must be done, not what you'd like to do. That's my challenge to you this afternoon. Let's sit back. Let's listen with an objective ear. Let's hear how the world is changing, and then ask ourselves as owners and as trainers and as breeders, what should we be doing? If somebody came into this room as an objective third party, look what was going on in the quarter horse industry, what would be the 3 decisions they'd make to make a positive difference and to make progress for our industry? So with that shared and said, we're going to introduce you to our first panelists. To kick off our panel on the current state of the horse industry, we have an informative presentation that will highlight some of the market research that has been recently completed by the American Quarter Horse Association. Presenting that information today, we have the Chief Marketing Officer for AQHA, Lauren Walsh. Lauren grew up riding hunter jumpers in northeastern Pennsylvania, as some of you may know, and furthered her equestrian career while she was at Penn State University on the Penn State equestrian team. After spending some time with an advertising agency in Houston, her heart for horses and her marketing background drew her back to AQHA, initially as the manager for direct response marketing. Soon, she was promoted to the role of director of membership, where she was instrumental, together with her team, in launching the updated plastic version of the AQHA membership card, along with designing and implementing membership retention and recruitment plans that actually helped AQHA maintain its members during the economic downturn that we're all familiar with in 2007. Today, as Chief Marketing Officer, Walsh leads a team of talented marketing professionals who are responsible for AQHA marketing and public relations, event management, print, and video production. Please welcome to the podium, Lauren Walsh.
Do you remember the first time you locked eyes with an American quarter horse? The moment you realized the connection would change the rest of your life. It was no longer all about you, but you and your horse. You spent your days tall in the saddle, and you and your best friend achieved goals and realized dreams you never even knew you had. How can we share this love with a new generation? What can you do to grow our industry? How can you help create new American quarter horse owners? Together, let's find more people who are AQHA proud.
Important thing about being here and being together is we have an opportunity to not just do, but to think about every decision that we're making over the weekend and how it affects not just the rest of 2016, but how it affects the next 5 years and the next 10 years. So one thing that Kevin mentioned is that I did work at an agency, and I worked on oil and gas. And I can tell you that while I enjoy the agency business, I rarely went home in the evenings and thought, man, oil and gas marketing is just awesome. It's just, I feel so good about what I do. And I can tell you, and it gets me emotional, so I apologize on slide 1 for getting a little emotional, but I go home oftentimes now in my 10 years at AQHA, and I cannot fall asleep because there are so many exciting things happening in our industry and so many opportunities to teach people about our great horse. That it's just an honor, and I truly appreciate the talented people that I work with, and that all of you have entrusted me with this gift of helping to promote the American quarter horse. I'm going to quickly go through some details about the research that we did. The first survey we did, or the most recent survey I should say, was in 2007, and so there was quite a gap between 2007 and this survey in 2015 in August. We were a little behind, but realized that we needed to get on it, and took the time and invested some money to do this, and I think you'll be pleased with what we found out and excited about what we can do with this data moving forward. Like I said, we launched it in August of 15. It was completed 100% online. We promoted it through email blasts to our membership, through our 440 communique that you receive if you're a director. We promoted it in our weekly and daily newsletters. We offered people a Quarter Horse Outfitters coupon. I think it was $25 off a $100 purchase, and then we also offered the chance to win one of 2 iPad minis, because we know that this is a long survey. I'll talk a little bit about that moving forward, but we know that in giving you a reason other than just the fact that you want to help us, giving you an iPad mini really motivates you to complete that survey. We collected so much information that I could be up here for hours, but don't worry, I won't be. I will give you the highlights, but happy to talk later during this weekend if you have any other questions. Overview of the research. It's a thorough profile. It includes subgroups, which means that we can look at 3-year members, annual members, professional horsemen, life members, and tell you specifics about just those groups. Most of you know that we did only U.S. members, and the main reason for this is because we included a lot of United States brands and companies. There's a big section about purchasing habits, and it just was too confusing to take this one outside of the U.S., but long term our plan is to do another survey in Canada and an international survey. It's just a little bit harder to do, as you can imagine, with brands. We have a high level of confidence in this, meaning that, like I said, you can kind of glean information about smaller groups within the larger population of the membership. It was a serious time commitment by each respondent. We'll talk a little bit about that in a subsequent slide. You can see the details on the questionnaire up there. 7 chapters, 146 questions. We constantly were reminding people if they got through a couple chapters and didn't finish to please go back, that we really needed you to complete the entire survey so we could get a good profile of information. The main goals behind completing this were many. Data mining, obviously, like we talked about. It's not just what I'm going to tell you about today, but it's what we can talk about for the next year or so, and different things that we can look at and learn from this information. Revenue generation. Obviously, there's advertising, sales opportunity, and sponsorship opportunities that we learned about based on the way our members answered this question. Organizational focus. The data helps us figure out where we need to be focusing our resources as a staff when it comes to planning and strategizing. We can look at areas like member service and satisfaction, refining products and services, strategic planning, governance, and of course finances. How do we need to be spending and where? Overall participation, like I mentioned earlier, this was a serious time commitment. And I think it's important. I don't want to read all the information on every slide, but I'm going to read you these numbers because I think they're pretty amazing. We had 6,935 respondents. That's 3.1% member participation. That's pretty amazing. If you know anything about direct response marketing, 1 to 3% is considered successful. The fact that we were just over 3% is pretty outstanding. It took 53 minutes per member, average completion time. This was not something you could do at Starbucks on your cell phone. You had to take time and invest in completing this survey. And I think it's really powerful for all of you to see that when you kind of conglomerate all of that, it's 5,534 hours of time invested by our members to complete this survey. And when we initially put it out and we included this in the email and the press release, we talked about this as being a way to actually allow your voice to be heard and to let us know what you're thinking, as opposed to going on Facebook, which we know is reality, and Jen Paulson we'll talk a little bit more about later, as opposed to going out and just posting a comment about how angry you are about something. Use an opportunity like this to let us hear what you think. I read once, and I've re-quoted this a few times, that marketing without data is like driving with your eyes closed. And I think that maybe the past couple of years, we thought we knew what was going on with the membership, but we were kind of guessing. So now that we have all this data, we can open our eyes and drive forward into the future and make sure that we're making decisions based on true, hard facts. So now that I kind of gave you the overview of the survey, I know you're all thinking, get to the important stuff. What did it say? What did you find out? What we learned is a lot of information. We have a much better picture now of what our membership needs, about how our members spend their money, what they like to do with their horses, and so much more. But I beg to argue that one of the most, if not the most important thing that we learned about our members is who they are, what they like to do, how they want to make decisions. So what does an AQHA member look like? An AQHA member looks like this and this. And you might know the woman on the right there. An AQHA member also looks like this. And a whole lot of AQHA members look like this. Our 260,000 AQHA members worldwide are made up of a versatile group of riders, as versatile as the American quarter horses they're riding. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about some specifics on our members as we go on. I know this is a little hard to read. There was a lot of information on this chart. But this question asked about member behavior, how you would describe your role with your American quarter horse. And we didn't limit you to selecting one thing. We allowed you to select as many as you felt fitting of you. So that large section up there, the blue section, that's 47.3%, is recreational riders. These people ride for fun, for enjoyment, to escape reality, to feel good. The next two largest are show horse owners and breeders, and also amateur exhibitors. So these people are riding for fun, or for the thrill of competition, winning world championships, traveling across the country for the pursuit of a title. After that, we see our ranch horse owners. That's the third largest group. The third largest group of respondents said they're ranch horse owners and breeders. And later this afternoon, you'll hear from my colleague, Director of Ranching, Kim Lindsay, about the great opportunities for growth in that segment of the industry. And then the fifth largest group identify themselves as level 1 or novice exhibitors. They too enjoy the thrill of competition, but they're a little bit newer to getting involved than some of our other competitors. And I took the percentages off on some of the smaller sections, but I thought it was very interesting to note that the smallest section of our membership are polo players. So, in case anybody wants to go out and start playing polo, you'll have a few people to play with. Here's a little bit about membership behaviors. Our members participate in affiliate organizations, 23%, and they're members of other organizations, equine like AQHA, groups like NRHA and NCHA. They own their own homes, and they're mostly in a rural location. Our AQHA members are very loyal. Almost 60% of our members have been part of the association for more than 11 years. And you think to yourself, well, that's awesome. Like, people have been with us for a long time. Well, yes and no. While loyalty is great, we found that only 26% of the respondents have been members for 5 years or less. So while our retention rate is high, we need to start thinking about the fact that our acquisition efforts may need a little bit more focus, that we don't have a lot of members who've been with us for a short time. We talked a little bit about behaviors, like I just mentioned, and psychographics. I'd like to mention just a little about demographics and maybe one or two more tidbits about behaviors. So if we take the majority of the results and look at a snapshot of who an AQHA member truly is, we'll see that AQHA members are women. I know in the room we're split half and half, but we're 75% as an association. Age 56 and over. 49% of our membership is older than 56. They're married, and they're college educated. And I thought that this graphic was perfect because I think I can think of some women who might wear that real grandmas ride horses necklace. And one other thing, just calling back to the women thing, we were kind of joking earlier about, the men might control what money is spent, but the women are controlling how they spend it. A little bit more information. Our members are dog lovers and cat owners. I was showing this presentation to someone earlier, they said, "Did you do that on purpose, dog lovers and cat owners?" And I said, well, I really didn't do it on purpose, but it's pretty interesting to note, I'll pause on this for just a moment, that if you look at the average AQHA household, each household has 2 dogs average and 1 cat. So you multiply that across the membership, and that's more than 600,000 pets in our membership. 600,000. Now, we all know, I'm sure almost everyone in this room is a dog lover, a cat owner, or both. And we know how much dog food costs, and we know how much veterinary care costs for small animals as well. So think about not just the time that's spent on these animals, but the cost investment on the fur families in the world. Our members are experienced. 83% have been riding more than 20 years. If you add that to the 9% who've been riding 11 to 20 years, that's 92% of our membership who've been riding more than 10 years, and most are riding daily or weekly. There's a reason this number is so high. You all know it, and it's the reason you're sitting here today. American quarter horses in this lifestyle are easy to love. A little bit more about behaviors. I'm just going to let you look at those. And here's the summary I came up with when I looked at these. Do not make these women angry. Do not bother them in the garden. Because if you do, they will chase you with their truck, waving their gun, and they will take a picture and text it to their friends later about how you ran away afraid of them. So you do what you will, but that's kind of what I gleaned from that. So now that we know what a typical AQHA member does look like, I want to take just a moment to talk about what a member doesn't look like, what we might be missing in our association. The photos that you see up there are part of our new campaign that we're calling You Hold My Heart. They show women that are younger than our average AQHA member. And I think the most important thing about these photos is that these women aren't even riding their horses. So they're not competing, they're not even out on the trail. These photos represent the feeling that all of you know well. The reason that you're sitting here, the reason that you've invested your time and money to come to Las Vegas and better our association. The special bond that we cannot describe with words that exists between a human and a horse. While we're excited about the current programs that we have to offer members, we must pay attention to the fact that 49% of our membership is 56 or older. We need to ensure we're remaining relevant and exciting for younger generations, the millennials, as Kevin mentioned earlier. And we need to offer programs and services with them in mind. We need to look at ways to engage college kids. You know, everybody's busy, but this horse-human bond doesn't go away when you're in college. I know it didn't go away for me. We need to make sure you have something to do when you're starting a family. We want to make sure that your family is involved in horses, and we need to give them a reason to become a member. As I mentioned earlier, we don't have many members who have been with us 5 years or less, and these are the members to whom I'm referring. Let's talk just for a moment about kids. Statistics show us that 64% of our current membership no longer have children living with them. Their children are grown with families of their own. The average member is a grandma who has grandchildren, but only 18% of our members' grandchildren are involved with horses. We only have 22% of our members who are between the age of 25 and 45. We are missing something with moms. We know there are a lot of things competing for time with kids. We know there's a lot of things competing for time of moms. And we need to make sure that we're reminding moms about that bond between a child and a horse. We need to be looking at ways to encourage them to bring their kids to riding lessons, to go to horse shows, and to be a part of this lifestyle, and reminding them what horses can and will do for their children. And I want to share a quick anecdote about my own childhood here, because when I started riding, probably when I was 12, I was horse crazy. You know, Kevin kind of talked about that. And in middle school, my mom, anything I wanted to do with horses, I was kind of one of those anomalies. My family is not horse people. And so my mom would take me to do anything. And finally, when I got older, I said, Mom, I thank you for taking all that time and money you invested in me. And she said, hey, I was just glad that your favorite word in middle school was barn and not boys. And just to let you know I'm not lying, I thought I'd show you a few super awesome Flashback Friday photos. So there may have been some other reasons that boys weren't really my number one word, but anyway, that's beside the point. I'd like to quickly just show you, this survey was not targeted at youth, but this is just some stats on our youth AQHA membership. We were at our highest in 2006 and had a continuous decline. We've had a 26% loss since 2006 in our AQHA membership. 23,300 members is what we dropped to at the end of 2015. So these are real numbers that represent exactly what I just mentioned. So what does this all mean? It means that doing this survey has been a lot of work, and presenting this to you, I know it's not all easy to hear, but we've given ourselves a gift. The gift of having real hard data that tells us what we've worried about and thought to be true is actually true. We must take time to focus on families and kids. It needs to be important to all of us that we look for ways to make sure people are having fun with horses, whether in competition, at the track, on the trail. And we need to share stories about why we got involved in horses with others to help bring in new members. How will we bring new members into AQHA? I think if we take time to listen to the needs of the current members and work to create new opportunities to bring people to the American Quarter Horse and to AQHA, then together we can help more people become AQHA proud. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lauren. Very good. I think we've got the next presentation up and rolling. And by the way, it's been quite a treat to have a chance to work with both Lauren and her staff in preparing for this event. Had the privilege of working with our next presenter on several industry conferences, and I found her to be just a passionate promoter of horses and a real hands-on leader when it comes to growing the horse industry. She also has a history, of course, with quarter horses. In fact, her experience in both private and nonprofit equine businesses led Patty to a position as the senior director of the American Quarter Horse Association's foundation, raising virtually millions of dollars for scholarship and equine research. In 2006, Patty managed the Mustang Heritage Foundation, where she created and launched what many of us know as the Extreme Mustang Makeover events, leading to the adoption of more than 5,000 wild horses. Currently, Patty works with the American Horse Council's Marketing Alliance, representing major equine breed, discipline, and corporate organizations. She helped create the Time to Ride events, and I know she's going to be visiting with about that this afternoon. In 2014, Patty received the Innovator of the Year Award from the American Horse Publications Association for her efforts to both change and grow our industry. Would you help me welcome Miss Patty Colbert?
Hey family! Good
to be back with y'all. It's like a high school reunion, you know, we just kind of all get older and better like wine. So, thank you for including me so very much. It's been a joy to work with Lauren and the team here on Time to Ride and other efforts. And I just want to go through some of the things that Kevin's brought to our attention, but I might not be as nice about it. So forgive me, but as my friends told me today, you know, it's always better to ask for forgiveness. So we're going to move through and talk about another industry that is facing the same kind of downturn that the horse industry is. You know, Budweiser was the epitome of the reason that I watched the Super Bowl. I watched the Super Bowl for the next Budweiser commercial, and I know that you girls out there did the same thing. Man, I was waiting for the cute guy with the cute butt and the cute puppy and the cute colt and the cute stuff, and see where that story was going to take me next. Well, Budweiser has suffered a 45% loss of their market share over the last 10 years, and they're losing it to a more modern and aggressive craft beer market that is slowly but surely taking it away. They had to make some drastic changes in their marketing in order to attract a younger market. If you'll play that video for me, we'll take a quick look at what they positioned for the Super Bowl. Wow, where'd the ponies go? Where'd the puppies go? The 18-24-year-old market is not interested in cuddly puppies. They are hard-charging millennials and a mix thereof that are looking for something with an edge to it. We have to develop an edge to what we're doing. The most important thing is to not be discouraged by numbers. This was a slide that was shared at the 2014 convention that showed a marked decrease of a 47% loss in the horse industry in breed registry and memberships. If you look at that across the board there, I'm not sure about what our numbers at AQHA are for the last 2 years, but I do not want us to settle for good, bad news. We need to make that turn, and we need to charge on to growth opportunities. We're facing the things that Kevin shared with us, and Lauren gave you some shots of what the AQHA member looks like. Well, in my opinion, here's what she really does look like. You know, and you need, and we need to get over the picture that we're going to create people that look like ourselves as entry-level folks into the industry. These gals and their families are involved with horses, and they deserve our respect. Another area that he really stole all my good stuff is that, you know, folks now, and the younger folks particularly, want to walk to work and live in a cool place and go to the bar. They want to grab their Starbucks on their way to the farmer's market. And if they really think they're into agriculture, they buy a $3,700 chicken coop, and they put some frickin' high-dollar chickens in there too. And that is their connection with agriculture. Now, arrogantly, we laugh at that. But they are getting the same benefits that we get from connecting with the earth by going to the farmer's market and raising chickens. And it is absolutely what they feel that are the things that are connecting them. Now, My favorite thing when I used to come to the AQHA convention was going to the youth committee and listening about how we're all going to grow if we just go steal the 4-H kids. Well, that is so wrong. The 4-H kids are already involved in the horse industry. It is your job to upsell. It is your job to bring, just as the Rain Cow Horse did, reached out to the National High School Finals Rodeo. I got to talk to those kids at their convention a couple of weeks ago, and that rodeo influence is good and strong in there, and they're really making headway. But what you've got to give up is thinking that you're going to get up against soccer and baseball and all those things. Quit thinking and quit blaming that for our inability to grow the industry. We have got the 3-screen iGeneration, which are the 9-year-olds and under, that we've got an opportunity to influence. Now let me tell you what's happening right now. Those kids are horseback riding. Would you play the video, please? Thank you. That's for all of you that thought that you knew what online horsemanship was like. That's for all of you that don't have granddaughters and kids and stuff that are constantly watching it and becoming intimately involved with those horses and working hard, cleaning stalls, doing stables, doing errands so they can get money to buy more horses and do more things on the internet. So instead of bitching about soccer, how about we kind of try to collaborate with some of these online entities and reach out to them so that we can connect them with the stables and barns, clubs and organizations that will welcome non-horse owning individuals. So what we did was put action together. In 2012, at the Zoetis leadership meeting, a group of our industry leaders got together, and this topic kept coming up time and time again. How can we collaborate to grow the industry? Under the leadership of the American Horse Council and my dear friend Jay Hickey. Jay, are you in the audience? There he is. Jay and I are probably as polar opposite of any two individuals that you can imagine. He's an attorney and I'm not. But we have managed to slog through this with his ability to take care, so very much care, of our industry and grow this into an effort to reach new people. So I want you to look closely at the leadership on the wall here and remember these companies that have made commitments, large commitments when money is tight, to work together to grow the industry. We also have a level, you saw in the previous slide, our members, and we have partners that we're working together too, and so very proud of our relationship with Colorado State University and Texas A&M. Let me get one little PSA here. If you're involved with any organization that's a partner or member of Time to Ride, would you stand up, please? Oh, thank you. That's a huge growth. That's a huge growth piece for us, and we're so very proud of it. So we did a tremendous amount of research. Zoetis spent about $75,000, and we put an additional $25,000 to $30,000 in and drilled down on attitudinal research, much as Lauren's talking about. We found our target was a 35, 45-year-old female, preferably with a couple of girls. Now, men, don't get your panties in a wad. We love you, we need you, somebody's got to fix the truck, but We are really, if we've got a rifle shot, we've got to kind of shoot that shot at something that we can afford to hit. So we've targeted mom and built all of our pain points. Do you know what a pain point is in marketing? What is going to motivate mom? What's going to motivate mom and alleviate her pain is the fact that she's being healthy, she's being active, she's doing something that gives her a sense of purpose. And then she's doing that for her children too. So that's what we focus all of our marketing on. We couldn't afford to go out and do a campaign and buy, do you know what it costs for a one-page black and white ad? Those girls, you and I, that go through the grocery store lines and hit those magazines, Real Simple is probably one of the best magazines, or Oprah. The average price for a one-page black and white is $120,000 a run. We don't have the money to do that. So we decided that we would focus on our providers, on the lesson giving barns, on the clubs and organizations that wanted to welcome tire kickers, that wanted to welcome mom and her toddler, that wanted to reach out to those people so we could try to grow the industry. So we created, in a very short time, what we called the Time to Ride Challenge. And in 2014, we did it over 100 days in the summer. We hung out $100,000 the first year, and we generated, through about 600 barns participated with us, about 25,000 new people. We did it again this summer. We increased the number of barns to about 900. They held almost 1,000 events. And we reached an additional 47,000 new people. We've got over 60,000 new horse-interested people involved in less than 18 months. Now, I want you to picture us. We're that 2-year-old colt out there in the pasture. You know, we are not the 75-year-old AQHA. So we have got some time to grow, and we've got some time to develop this, but it is working because we are creating your next customers. Now, it may take a little trot down the alley to get them to your show barn, but we are creating your customers, your feed buyers, your educators, and you need this. We had a 63% increase in newcomers from 2014 to 2015. That's amazing with the little bit of effort and work that we did. We had, I said, almost 1,000 registrants. We call those hosts, people that reached out and did things. They held almost 600 events in 49 different states. Ralph Seekin and his wife were the first Time to Ride event that was held in 2014, and kudos to them for that. We reached, as we said, this year, this is only this year, 41,000 newcomers, actual email addresses, and then we send them an ebook that was created by AIM, and my good friends there did a wonderfully non-commercial book to send to them, and we send them to Take Me Riding, the very best website that a mom can go that feels safe about her kid learning about horses. Those events had kids on kids, and what we know is important to the business owner is, what is our conversion? How do you take that newcomer and then shove them up the food chain? So we surveyed them, much as you did the AQHA, and we had a tremendous response. 65% of the hosts of the stables and barns that participated with us saw an increase in their business. 84% of the respondents, or the newcomers, felt that they were more inclined to go and participate in another horse event. And 71% of those said that they had already planned or planning to attend a horse event. So once we get them and that horse puts it on them, we can get that. If we do good customer service, we can continue to do that. In 2016, we're going to increase the Time to Ride Challenge this summer. You can go to the website and find out all about it and sign up. We've got a goal, hopefully, of 100,000 newcomers. Got a new website and map redesign. We're going to incorporate a deal that I ripped completely away from Bass Pro Shops. They had a very successful pledge to take someone fishing. So this year we're going to roll out pledge to take someone riding. And if you will simply go online and pledge to take a friend riding with you, enter your information and theirs, you will be eligible for VIP tickets to the Breeders' Cup, along with some other tremendous programs. So we'll do that. And as I said, we're so excited to have A&M and CSU, and spoke with Ann in Middle Tennessee. We're so excited about teaching these college students the value of marketing to new people. If there's one thing I can repeat, teaching young people the value of marketing to new people and not just realizing that their success is built on the fact that their futurity cult prospect brought $1,000 more than it did last year. That's not how you grow the industry. So I want to thank some very specific people. I want to thank Therapeutic Writing. I want to give a shout out here to my buddies. Kathy's here with PATH. And I want to thank you and the others for the Veterans Program, because what is happening right now, you owe them. We used to think that we were going to help them, okay? Well, the tables have turned. There is more press and more media following these veterans programs and giving our horse a feeling of service. Our animal is going back into service for the United States of America, and it is a huge movement that you need to be a part of. I also want to thank probably the most important groups that are in front of our kids and our people every day. I dare you to go walk down Target or Walmart or Toys R Us stores and see the horses that are there. If we ever lose this element, and if that chick ever gives up horses, we're screwed. Because they are the entry level point for our young girls to enter into horses. And it isn't because of the horse, it's the hair play. Hair play is bringing the young girls into the horse deal. And we need to thank Breyer, our deal. That looks like Al Dunning's horse he used to ride. But let me tell you, that's a Breyer model with a handmade saddle, blanket, saddle, romal, bridle that is one of the most exquisite things you'll ever see if you go to a Breyer show. You guys are like me. I don't know what a Breyer show like. I'm sure there's lots of kids. Oh my God in heaven, go to one. It is the damnedest thing you've ever seen, and the work and the stuff. And I'm not sure we can bring those old gals that do this, because it's largely women living the dream in the way that they can. But we need to continue to work with these toy companies to do that. So those of you that have heard me speak over the years, my number one deal is this is what's killing our industry. Equine arrogance is killing our industry. It is and you've got it. Every last one of you in here has got it. It's the deal why if you see somebody over there trying to load that horse and they can't really get that horse in the trailer, and you just want to go over there and go, get out of the way, let me get the horse in the trailer. That's the number one kind of one of the deals. But the true deal is what I tell everybody, the test that I used to give myself, because I operated a recreational riding facility for 10 years. And we would have people call up, yeah, I can ride, sure. I rode, I grew up riding, no problem. Well, you can't believe them, bless their hearts, because, in their mind's eye, they can. I think that I could make a dress in my mind's eye. Wouldn't work. So what I would do is give a buckle halter to them, and I have old Blue in the stall, gentle, great horse. I'd say, sure, you've been around horses, go get them. Go get old Blue. And do you know that you can buckle that halter and put it on where the piece that goes here comes right down the middle of their deal? And there's my granddaughter, May. And we tried it, and we did it, and it works. And so what's your response? You idiot. Wrong. It has to be, that's interesting, and welcome to my world. Let me show you how maybe you could, because you can lead them that way. Now, you might put an eye out, but you can sure do that. So give up your equine arrogance. Let it go. Be a part of Time to Ride. Go online. We've got some great programs. I'm not going to get down in the weeds with it, but I'll be visiting some of your committees and giving you another short presentation on how you can actually get your stable clubs and organizations involved. Thank you again, Craig, for the opportunity.
We promised you we were going to motivate you and stimulate you, and if that doesn't do it, I'm not sure. You might want to check your heartbeat. But I would tell you this: I think about that 2012 Zoetis conference. as one of the wonderful experiences in my career because I do a lot of conferences. But what was so cool about that is the group of you who were in attendance at that time. Tom, you recall the conference quite well, that they said, this is not about just talking about it, it's about what we're going to do about it. And somebody went home, a group of you went home afterwards and actually did something about it. And Time to Ride, I compliment Zoetis, I compliment you and Horse Council and everyone else. Absolutely. Jay did a wonderful job in putting wheels under an otherwise good idea. Our next panelist is a relatively new employee of AQHA, and I think she has some discussions to have with Craig for putting her up here about a week into the job. But she's a veteran in the quarter horse industry. Recently, she came on board as the director of ranching, as many of you know, for the American Quarter Horse Association, and in that role, she'll be responsible for developing new programs to enhance and educate American quarter horse owners about the ranching division of the association. She has more than 20 years experience in ranch management. She also has an AQHA record of competing in versatility ranch horse and the ranch pleasure class, as well as the stock horse competition at stock horse of Texas competitions. Before she joined AQHA, she served as the Equestrian Center Director for Texas Tech and has also been Executive Director of the Stock Horse of Texas Association since 2009. For insight regarding growth opportunities within our industry, would you please welcome Kim Lindsay.
Well, Kevin, I'm going to thank you, but I'm not going to thank Craig, okay? Because not only did he do this to me, then I have to go after these other two women. He puts me last. No, it's really great to be here, guys. Good afternoon. Better put my glasses on, though, hadn't I? Today marks exactly 2 weeks and 4 days since I've started with AQHA. So what I'm going to talk about is what I've learned in that time, plus what I've learned participating in the AQHA Ranch Horse program. I really am really excited about being here today and talk to you about our growth and how, as we as AQHA can continue this growth. In 2015, in an AQHA membership survey, 43% listed ranch use as involvement with their horses, as the key involvement with their horses. Guys, that's 70,000 of our members. At the 2015 Lucas Oil AQHA World Championship show, 87 of those horses were ranching heritage bred horses. I bet you guys didn't know that, did you? 29 of those horses made it to the finals in 9 different events. And I guess that you can probably guess one of those events might be by looking at the picture over fences. Also, they were cutting, halter, ranch riding, which has been one of the largest classes at the AQHA World Show since it started. Roping, speed events, team pinning, and ranch sorting, and working cow, of course. We started the Zoetis AQHA Ranching Heritage Challenge is in 2012. We continue to see new dates and excitement from our exhibitors. With feedback from the judges, our exhibitors continue to improve their skills, which they are taking back to their ranches. On our website, we have all the 2016 dates, which you can also see here on the screen, and the website that I hope that you guys have memorized is www.aqha.com/ranching. Each of those challenges has $15,000 added from the help with our great partner, Zoetis. If you haven't been to one, you guys need to go. It's really fun to compete in them with your neighbors from other ranches. And you don't even have to be a ranch cowboy to compete in them. You just have to be riding a ranching heritage bred horse. And we've also opened up with other classes for the novice, youth, and open riders. Guys, the future's ahead of us, and we're not leaving our kids behind. The Ranching Heritage Breeders' Young Horse Development Program was intended to give AQHA youth hands-on training with the help of a mentor. The growth of this program has been exciting, and our breeders have donated foals, and our youth are stepping up to the challenge. Through this program, we're able to give scholarships and prizes, and now it's time to move to the next level. I hope that we can get those breeders connected with the local 4-H programs to keep that growth growing. For instance, in the Texas 4-H, the youth can continue with their donated weanling to yearling, 2-year-old, and 3-year-old 4-H programs. One of our oldest programs is the Versatility Ranch Horse competitions. We crowned our first Versatility Ranch Horse World Champion in 2008. For 2015, we've opened up the qualifying process, and this year we have a big increase in qualifiers. In 2014, we had 104 qualifiers. For the show next week, we had 422 qualifiers. This increase is because exhibitors can show in single events. And also we've added 3 more divisions, the Cowboy, Youth, and Limited. And we will be crowning our first Youth Versatility World Champion next week in Houston. Along with that, we'll be crowning our first Cowboy World Champion and our first Limited World Champion. That's going to be exciting, isn't it? Some of this growth has come from our alliance partners like SHOT, Stock Horse of Texas, which holds Versatility Ranch Horse competitions and ranch riding classes with their shows. These shows are very affordable for the exhibitor. You can make one run and get SHOT points and also get AQHA points that will qualify you for the AQHA World Shows. You can do this in one trip and make one run on your horse. And it looks like there's more growth coming this year. At the show that Patty was at in Abilene in February, there were 726 SHOT entries and 241 versatility entries. Some other exciting news comes from our NRCHA, the National Rein Cow Horse Alliance. Their affiliates, they also hold Versatility Ranch Horse competitions and ranching heritage challenges and ranch riding classes. And at the 2015 NRCHA Celebration of Champions in February, the NRCHA welcomed the first Stock Horse Collegiate Challenge, which included 8 universities. Now, isn't that a great first step, guys? Another ranching partner is RHAA, Ranch Horse Association of America, which a lot of the collegiate teams are participating in their events throughout the year. So why do you think so many of our members like the ranch horse? Why do you think these ranch horse and stock horse associations are going so fast? Well, I'm going to tell you what I think. I think it's because it's like me and old Reno. You know, we branded calves on Friday. Then I loaded him up and we went to Fort Worth to the NRCHA Celebration of Champions. And I showed old Reno then that week, won a little bit of money. And you know, my partner, I felt like my partner was there with me through the whole deal. Now, can it get any better than that, guys? I mean, what better feeling can you have than that right there? And then, isn't it what we're all after is to ride that well-bred, handy cow pony? We've also found that at these other events, these ranch horse events, everybody there's a very positive atmosphere there. The events are very relaxed and fun. The ranching tradition is honored, and everyone there seems to be your friend. They all want to help, pat you on the back, holler for you while you're out in the arena. It's a good time, isn't it, Patty? These events are very friendly, or family friendly, and Patty can testify that because I saw her and her granddaughter at the SHOT Show, and I think they were having lots of fun there. The kids, mom, dad, the grandparents can all show there at the same show, and sometimes they even ride the same horse. Many of these organizations appeal to the do-it-yourself crowd who want to improve their own horse. The groups have clinics before each show, using often AQHA world champions as the clinicians. And everyone goes home riding a better horse. To me, one of the most important parts of the success of the ranch competitions is the positive scoring system. The judges don't give you a 0 if you go off pattern, they give you an off pattern. You still can't beat someone that stayed on pattern, and then everyone is placed from top to bottom. That way, the exhibitors can follow their improvement from show to show. This positive scoring system is also a part of AQHA's versatility scoring system, and I do believe that's part of our reason for our growth also. There's lots of opportunities out there. We just need to join forces with these other ranch horse and stock horse associations that are already all over the United States. Other opportunities would be get more involved with the collegiate ranch horse and stock horse teams that already exist in 12 states and 20 different schools. Well, and I think this is probably why they hired me, but I think it's time for all of us to come together and join forces. Maybe circle the wagons. Because we are ranching, we are AQHA. Thank you.